Hey, my name's Cartier, and in this video, I'm going to be showing you how to make this spray paint can using Blender and Photoshop. What else did I say? Wait, can you pull up my video? In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to make this. This is the final part of a 3-part series where I showed you how to model, texture, and render all from scratch. In this video, we're going to be rendering the final animation. If you missed the last video, click here. Now, without further ado, this is Blender Base. Okay, so in the last video, we finished texturing the model that we made in part 1. And in this video, we're going to be setting up the scene with lights and then a background and then animating the can. Before we get started, we need to change our view to rendered view. To do this, click Z and then go to the top, rendered, left click. And then as you can see, we have this one light source. Let's left click that and then delete. Now we can still see the can, and that's because the background is giving off ambient light. When I do projects with solid color backgrounds, I like to separate the background color from the ambient light color. To do this, go up to the top left of your screen until you get the cursor, left click and drag to the middle. And then I'm gonna change the editor type by left clicking and then clicking shader editor, and then change object to world. Now you should see these two nodes, and we're gonna go ahead and select the left background node. And then click Shift D, bring your cursor down, left click to confirm, and then clicking Shift A, we're gonna add in a mix shader. Once you've selected that, you can hover over this top green line and then left click to drop it in. And then connect the bottom background node to the bottom shader node. Now everything still looks the same, but we need to change this factor value to match is camera ray. To do this, type in Shift A, type in light path, left click, and then drag down the is camera ray to the factor. Now I'm going to left click the top background value and then bring this all the way down to black. Now you shouldn't be able to see your can. And then I'm going to change the background color on the bottom to white and then increase the strength to 2. Now we can go up to the header on the left side, right click, and then click close area. Now you see we have a white background that is not affecting the object. If you want to change these values later to change the background color or your ambient light color, you can go over to this right side here, left click the world properties tab, and then click either of these drop downs to change the colors. But I'm going to stick with white for this video. Now we need to add in a lighting setup. For this video, I'm just going to do a basic 3-point lighting setup, but lighting in Blender is incredibly important, and I highly recommend looking up more advanced tutorials to fully get a grasp of how to properly light in Blender. Okay, so before we set up our lights, I'm going to go into top view. You can do this by left clicking the Z axis on the rotation gimbal or numpad 7. And then using shift middle mouse, I'm going to navigate the object to the center of my screen. Now I'm going to add in some lights with Shift A, go down to light, add in a point light, and then G, Shift Z, move this about 45 degrees from the object. And then we can play around with the light values by left clicking the light source, going into data or object data properties, left clicking, and then I'm going to change the power of this to about 500 watts. As you can see, we now are getting some light on our can. And then I'm going to change the radius of this light to about 2 meters. And then I'm actually going to move it back a little bit further with G. Now I'm going to add in our fill light by clicking Shift D while this left light is selected, and then clicking X to move on the X axis. And I'm going to move it perfectly symmetrical with the other light. And then left click to confirm. And then I'm going to bring this power down to about 250 watts. And this one should have the same radius of 2 meters. And then I'm going to add in our last backlight by left clicking the right light that we just added, and then clicking Shift D and moving this all the way to the back. Now using the middle mouse button, I'm going to navigate out of the top view. And then as you can see, we don't have enough light on the top of the object. To fix this, I'm going to left click the first light that we added, click G and then Z to bring it up. And then I'm going to left click the backlight and then click G, Z to bring that up as well. Now I feel like that gives the object enough light. Now this isn't the best lighting setup, but this will give you a fine result for a beginner tutorial. Okay, now that the lighting is squared away, I'm going to left click our camera and then click Alt G and then Alt R. This will reset the location and rotation of the camera. Next, you're going to click G and then Y to bring the camera back, and then R, X, 90 to rotate the camera on 90 degrees on the x-axis. And then I'm actually going to pull out my camera a little bit further with G, Y. Once you think you have it positioned about where you want it to be, you can click numpad 0 or this camera icon right here, and then you can tab into the camera view mode. Now, if you click in, you'll see this sidebar. Go to the view tab and then click camera to view. Now, if you scroll out with mouse wheel down, you can position the camera a little bit better. And then with the camera still selected, go into the item tab, and then I'm going to increase the Z location just a little bit so that it's centered in the middle of the frame. If you want to check this, you can go over to the object data properties with the camera selected, left click, and then go down to viewport display, composition guides, and then turn on thirds. I'd like to do a more in-depth tutorial on framing within Blender in the future, so definitely let me know if you'd like to see that. Once you have your camera where you want it, I'm going to go ahead and click 0, or again the camera icon, to get out of the camera mode. Now I'm going to left click the spray can, and then click R, Y, 15, and then make sure that your first frame is selected, and then go up to the rotation tab, and then go up to the Z rotation, and click I on your keyboard. This inserts a keyframe for the Z rotation. Now, go to frame 250 by left clicking this box right here, and then typing in 250, and then go back up to the same rotation tab, left click the Z rotation, and then click 360. Enter, and then click I again to set another keyframe. Now, if you click spacebar, you should see your can rotating. And then if you click 0 or the camera icon, you can preview what your animation is going to look like. That looks about right to me, so I'm going to go ahead and set up our render properties. Left click on this camera icon at the top, and then if you're using Eevee, left click ambient occlusion, bloom, and screen space reflections. If your can shows up blurred out, you might want to left click on the bloom properties and then increase your threshold. That looks about right to me. And then scroll down all the way to color management. Under view transform, left click AGX and change this to standard. And then I'm going to change my look to medium high contrast. Feel free to play with your exposure and gamma values to get the desired effect. If you're rendering in cycles, which can be a little bit more intense on your computer, I recommend changing your device to GPU compute and then setting your noise threshold at about 100 to, you could go even lower, like 50 samples, and then experimenting with whether or not you like denoise. Now you can go to the output properties tab by left clicking here, select your frame rate. I'm going to go with 24 frames per second. Make sure that your frame start and end are 1 and 250. And then under output, left click this folder button, navigate to where you want to save your file, and then name it, and then click accept. Now change your file format to FFmpeg video, click encoding, change this to MPEG-4, and then I'm going to change my output quality to perceptually lossless. And now we're ready to render. So go up to the top left, click render, and then click render animation. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. If you came across any problems, feel free to drop a comment below or shoot me a DM at Cartier on Instagram. I'm always responding to comments and DMs because my goal is to help you. All 3 parts of the video are now uploaded, but I will be putting up an extended version with all the clips next week. If you enjoyed this video or found it useful, please consider dropping a like or subscribing to the channel. Any engagement you give helps me continue to make what I love to make. And if you didn't like the video or came across any problems, please don't hesitate to reach out. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see y'all next week.